Hey guys, welcome back to Around the Campfire with AmeriCamp, the ultimate summer camp podcast.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Laura, and today we're going to be talking about a typical day in the life at camp. So to start us off, we'll just give you a little bit of info about our camps, like what the kind of setup was. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, of course. So my time at camp, I worked at an underprivileged camp in upstate New York. There's many different types of camp which might alter the typical day you might have at camp. So my camp was a little bit different in that the kids only came for 2 weeks at a time, and then sort of rotated out. So that sort of affected our day because we were very keen to cram in as much as possible into the day just to make sure that the campers had the best time during the time there. And yeah, it was a fantastic experience, as I'll probably go into in a bit. But yeah, what was your camp experience, Rob?
So I went to just a very traditional co-ed camp. We had campers there for a couple of weeks, but we had also campers there for the full summer, so there was like a bit of a mix. But also, as well as being a residential camp, we were also a day camp.
Oh,
so
right, okay. Yeah.
we had like campers that were just there for the day, and also campers that were there the entire time. So a little bit of a mix of everything.
Yeah, that's quite a mix to manage. Like having the kids come for a day and mixing with the kids that have been there for 8 weeks
exactly.
and sort of manage it all, making sure everyone gets that camp experience and every single tradition sort of put into there. But yeah, that's a great thing about camps. Like, so I think when people sign up, they sort of think camp is the exact same for everyone, but sort of the beauty of it is the variation and how each camp makes their own traditions and follows their own schedule. And then when you come back and speak to other people who have done camp, you can exchange your stories, and what's normal at your camp might be completely alien or strange to someone at a different camp. But yeah, do you want to start off? Like, what was your typical morning looking like?
Yeah, so in the morning, so I was a residential counsellor in my first year at camp. I had a cabin of about 8 or 10 children, depending on like the week, and there was 2 counsellors all the time with them, and we had a day camp counsellor that came and like helped when they weren't day camp kids. So we had in the morning we would get all of our kids up, which was quite a struggle.
It's always the most difficult job getting the kids to work.
Some of them were like great and were awake before we were, but most of the time it was like trying to get them to wake up. We would sing at them, we would just like, do everything we could do to like get them out of bed.
Motivated.
So they get up and get ready. Normally what we would do is there was the 2 counsellors in the cabin, so one of us would get fully ready first and like kind of wait with the kids, and then we'd like swap out. Also what I did was just get up before everybody else and make sure that I was showered and ready.
You need those 30 minutes for yourself in the morning before the chaos starts.
Exactly. So that was what I did most mornings. And then get the kids up. We went to flag raising first of all.
Oh, right, okay.
So we would all walk to flag raising, like see other cabins on the way. Everybody walked there, and then we'd stand in a semicircle around the flag. We didn't sing the national anthem, but we did have to like take caps off and hoods down and whatever as the flag was getting raised. And then we do like a morning check-in. So whoever was like the head staff for the day, they would like read out like what the weather was going to be like and what we're having for lunch and all that sort of stuff. And then we would do like, each cabin would do like a little chant in the morning to get us going. So my cabin was a cabin called E-Rise. And every morning we would go E-Rise and shine.
Did each cabin have their own chants? Was it like a friendly competition between them each morning to like compete against it?
And then what started happening like towards the end of the summer is that we would steal other cabins' chants.
Oh,
and then
that is always controversial.
Always
a dicey subject.
So we would do that. Each cabin would introduce themselves, and then we would walk silently and calmly to breakfast.
Easier said than done sometimes. The cabin always a goal,
absolutely. And then we just went up to breakfast and had breakfast. We had like family style breakfast.
Yeah, that's what we did. Sort of like buffet, sort of like everyone shares. You go and get a tray of food, bring it over to the table.
Well, kind of. Like we had so we had our CITs, which is our counsellors in training. They would bring the food to the tables, and then we'd like all sort of share whatever was on it, and if we needed more, we would like get more sort of situation. There was like a salad bar that had like salad and some fruit and like coffee for the counsellors and all that sort of stuff as well. But it was just quite a wholesome family morning with your cabin.
So going back to the flag raising, because I think that's probably the most unique part of that.
Yeah, I guess.
Were you sort of expecting that when you went to camp? Like, was this something you were looking forward to doing, or like?
I don't know how much I was expecting.
Yeah.
I thought it would be like full like pledge allegiance every morning. And it wasn't quite there, but it was. Obviously, we did do the flag raising, and then we did. In the spoilers in the evening, when we got to night time, we would do taps, which is like the military some sort of, I can't remember the full thing of it, but it's a little song that gets played through like the bugle system, so like through the speakers that plays all throughout camp, and everybody has to like stand and kind of listen to taps. So that would always play as well. But there wasn't much more than that. And that's kind of what I was sort of expecting from camp as well, I think.
Yeah. Because like I think when I went to my camp, I sort of heard beforehand that this was quite a big part of most morning routines was the flag raising and stuff. My camp didn't have that.
Oh, really?
It sounds my camp, again, I absolutely loved it. It was a lot more free flowing, I would say. We did have less traditions at the regard, but we did sort of create our own ones in the morning.
Yeah.
So just to quickly cover what my routine was, I'd probably wake up about 7 a.m, have that 30 minutes to myself to make sure I was fully ready for the day. Along with my counsellors. I was a sports coach at camp, so what I do is sort of review my lesson plan for the day, make sure I was all sorted. Got into quite an easy routine with it. Wake the kids up about 7:30 or so. We used to do morning showers, so we sort of factor that time into it as well. So we used to wake the kids up with a sun. Again, some kids are better than others when it comes to that. You sort of just learn how each camp is going to react, and you figure out what's going to work for them and what's going to get them up. Sort of speak to them about the day coming up is what I used to find helpful, to sort of motivate them to get moving quickly. So I was like, oh, we got this coming up, I know you love doing this sport, we got that first, and then we got swimming, make sure you got that. So we would sort of line the kids up, bring them to the shared bathroom we have, get them showered, get them brush their teeth. Hopefully all ready for 8:15. Was a bit of a rush sometimes in the morning, but that was always the goal. And then again, the kids got quicker too once they got used to the environment. Line all the kids up. We call them villages, which was like how we set up. So it was like 6 cabins per village. So the whole village would walk down together, probably about 30 to 40 kids and about 12 counsellors. Line up outside the breakfast hall, and we used to have a chant off each morning. So it'd be like village against village against village, and you do your village chants. And like you said before, people used to steal chants, and that was always a bit controversial. We used to get everyone sort of excited for the morning because like the kids enjoy chanting, enjoy being loud. The councils enjoyed the competition between themselves, and then it also sort of added to like an overall tally. So that was probably our equivalent of flag raising, was that chant to sort of get everyone unified and ready for the day. And we also did like birthday stuff in the morning as well.
Yeah.
So we had our birthday song, which I won't sing for you guys now, but it's not the traditional one. I can still remember it, even though it's been a few years.
Go on.
No, because there's no routine. Like happy birthday. Da, da, da. And then we used to get all the kids at birthday walk, our counsellors, and then everyone would sort of like run in and give them a hug, like all the leadership staff and stuff. And then they also got like some extra breakfast privileges, so their table got to go first for the day. It was quite similar too, so family style. So you go in, you normally have the same table for every single meal. So go in, sort of stand behind your chairs, everyone sat down at the same time, send up one kid, get the food. Again, a salad bar equivalent sort of thing, granola, yogurts, that sort of stuff. And the breakfast was normally really good, to be fair. It was normally like sausage or bacon or eggs with some sort of toast. You're always well fed at camp is what I found in my experience.
Definitely.
The kids eat a lot. Like I thought, I'm twice the size of these, maybe I could like have some of their portions. No, they use every single bit of food possible.
Literally.
And that was pretty much it. Sort of, it was a good way to sort of just check in with all the campers, make sure they're ready for the day, speak to them about what they're looking forward to. Again, just get them excited, get them ready for camp. And then from there, I used to just sort of go off and get myself ready for my lessons. And that was basically the morning. How did your camp sort of work in terms of activities in the morning then? Because we sort of had like 3 in the morning.
So my camp also is a bit strange in the fact that a lot of camps have general counsellors and activity specialists, where we didn't really have that.
Do you not have like a separation?
Yeah,
we sort of did.
Everybody was an activity specialist to some degree.
Okay.
So in the morning, like it was mostly because my camp was quite small, so like kids knew their way about and like they chose their own activities. They didn't have like a schedule set for them per cabin or per group or whatever. They would, before they got to camp, say, right, I want to do in week 1, I want to do skate park, I can't think of any activities.
What other activities,
Basketball, swimming, whatever it is.
Okay.
And then they'd have like a schedule that they'd follow.
Mm-hmm.
So like the counsellors didn't take them to each activity, the kids just kind of did that themselves.
Oh, right, okay.
Obviously there were counsellors kind of stationed to make sure that kids were going to activities.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But there wasn't like an adult taking them around, which meant that each counsellor also had their own schedule where they said like they might have went and taught their activity first and then might have went and assisted doing something else like in the afternoon. But we would, so after we had breakfast we would go back to our cabins for cabin cleanup. So they were given like 20 minutes. This is normally when the girls in my cabin got ready.
Because they're all late in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So they'd have 20 minutes to do cabin cleanup, so they needed to make sure that their beds were made and like everything was kind of neat and tidy and all that sort of stuff. And then we would go, the bugle would go, I forgot about the bugle when I was speaking before. So we had the bugle which went off at every, like the start of every activity period, but also went off in the morning. Like that was our sort of wake up call.
Right, is that, so the bugle's the speaker system? Because my camp didn't have any speaker system or anything like that. So.
Yeah, it's not like someone out playing like an actual bugle, it's just the sound of that. But yeah, we had the bugle went off in the morning and then at the start of each activity. So when the bugle went off, that's when the kids went to their activities and the counsellors then also went to their activities. So I think we had 2 activities and then lunch. But it might have been 3. I can't really remember. It was definitely like at least 2.
A few,
So when I was at camp my first year, I taught guitar for a bit of most of the summer actually. So I'd go off, like make sure that my kids had left left the house, left the cabin.
It does feel like a house. It's like, right, let's get ready for school.
Genuinely. But made sure that they'd left their cabins and had went to their activities, because like I was with the sort of junior teens, so they were like 12, 13.
The same as my boys were,
And I struggle sometimes. They were great. I love them. They're great kids. But yeah, just making sure they went off to their activities and then we would all go to our activities as well.
I mean, I quite like that setup of the kids sort of choosing what they've got to do. I think, again, that's the difference probably between my sort of underprivileged swap out every 2 weeks. If we let that, it was a boys' camp, my camp, so the boys would have just picked sports, to be honest with you. So that's why we were keen to sort of create a structure for them to try new things that they might not have done so before. So we probably had a bit less freedom, I'd say, of choice in that regard. But the way it works is that we had like a daily schedule that was given to us, so we sort of knew exactly what period was when, where you meant to be. I got one as well, so I knew sort of which classes I was teaching as a sports instructor, so I would sort of go off maybe 10, 15 minutes before the end of breakfast, leave with the general counsellors, go and make sure my sports area was set up with my other sports instructors, and then sort of welcome the first kids on. And I was probably teaching 5 out of the 6 periods I had per day, normally 3 in the morning and then 2 in the afternoon. So that morning was just sort of seeing every single kid on camp, teaching a different sport, and then I might get updates from other counsellors about like how my kids are doing. Maybe a cheeky text, not allowed your phones out of camp, maybe a cheeky text now and again, make sure the kids are okay if anything happened like that. But yeah, so my morning didn't have that sort of again where the kids are going to go, so I think we knew what we were going to be ahead of time. And then it was just a case of getting the kids there, making sure they turn around and reach the next lesson and doing all that. Like I said, it sounds complicated when you first go. You soon get into a routine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the kids are used to it as well. Again, after the first few mornings, they know they have to be ready at a certain time and where they're going to. They used to hound me for the schedule. They were very keen to know what was coming up. Like as soon as they came out straight away, what have we got this, what have we got that. And again, as a counsellor, you'd be checking it as much as well to see what you got coming up as well. So,
it was the same as us. We had like a notice board at the bottom of the basketball court where all of the kids' schedules were posted, and then the mail sheds, which was only for counsellors, which was where our schedules were posted. And you could always tell when they'd been put up because there were just clumps of counsellors and kids just around these boards, checking to see what was happening for the week. So after our activities, we then went back to our cabins just to clean up for lunch, and then we'd all sort of head to lunch. Something that my camp did that I don't know if I've never like spoken about this before, so I don't know if this is a universal thing or not. But we wouldn't just go straight into the lunch hall. The same with breakfast as well. In fact, for any meals, we wouldn't go straight in. We would have to wait outside and we'd be called in by cabin. But we'd often do like a little like fun like dance or like a little riddle or like tell a joke or something like that.
That's quite cool.
So often, it was like, oh, who's going to be first there? Who's going to get like first in? So we would go, like, get all the kids back together after they'd been at their activities, and then walk over to the lunch or to the dining hall, and then we'd wait outside. Somebody would be at the top of the stairs and be like, "Is this cabin here? Great. Give us a dance and then you can come in." Or be like, anybody that's birthdays in June, you can come in, like that sort of thing, just to kind of get
freshen up a little bit,
get the kids in. And then when we got into the lunch hall, we weren't allowed to sit down until we'd said like thank you, like said a little bit of not in a sort of religious way, but just said like sort of thank you, or something that we were grateful for.
Yeah, we had similar.
So head staff would sit at their table, and then they'd like raise their hands to like get everybody to be quiet, and then they would ask for a volunteer of someone to say something that they've been thankful for, and then one of the kids would say, "I've been thankful for Rob for being nice to me today," or whatever.
If I was there, would have been thankful all the time.
And then we would all like clap and sit down and get started and whatever. But I just like that little tradition of it. Like it wasn't just straight into
the chaos of lunch
and like the loudness of it. It was like a little moment of reflection, and then we kind of went into everything.
We had similar, because lunch was the only time we didn't have to line the kids up before, because normally like our cabins were sort of split up on different activities, so they would be coming from different parts of camp. But we did have a moment of silence at lunchtime where the kids took 10 seconds, so we'll get everyone in, everyone will stand behind their chairs until everyone was in, and then moment of silence, everyone just sort of nods their head for 10 seconds. It was a chance for any counsellors or campers that were religious, if they wanted to pray or anything like that, give them that opportunity. But it was also just a moment to sort of like reflect, calm down from the morning, and sort of even 10 seconds just to like to yourself, a bit of 10 seconds of peace to re-go again for lunch. And again, lunch was very similar to breakfast. It was a salad bar table, sort of talk about how everyone's morning was. That's a really good time checking with your campers, because sometimes in the morning they're tired, they don't want to speak about what's going on, but once they've had a bit of time to wake up and have done some activities, any positive or sometimes negative stuff you can sort of speak about, lunch is very open about that. And then lunch was quite quick at our camp. It was only about 30 to 45 minutes, because they were keen to get back into the activities as well.
Absolutely.
So lunch very similar. After lunch we had cabin time, which I think you had after breakfast. Which
we
had two cabin times?
We had two cabin times. First of all, directly after lunch, we had a trading post, which was just this little hut that like sold.
That's very like Western cowboy or whatever. Trading post, like go buy your horses sort of thing.
It sold like candy and like sweets and different things like that the kids just absolutely went crazy.
Well, the kids were allowed to sweets.
They were only allowed, so they had, it wasn't like money. They had like a little token thing, and they were only allowed 2 things each. But it wasn't like big things at all. And they weren't allowed to like stash it. Like they had to either eat it or give it to someone else. Whatever it was. So we had this little kid who he just was very, very cute, and had been to camp since he was maybe like 4 years old. Like he went to day camp first, then was at residential, and his job every day was to announce that trading post was open.
That's a great job to have,
So he'd get up in his little chair, and all the kids would be like ready to go. But if they ran to trading post, they got to go to the back of the line. So Kingston would shout, "Trading post is open!" and all the kids would like go crazy.
It must have felt like the king of camp whenever you had a chance to do that.
He absolutely was. So they all went to trading post, and then got their sweets, had like a little 10-15 minutes just outside, and then we had rest hour.
Similar.
Rest hour is the best hour. Like that is just, it was my favourite time, because it's quiet time, and it's like dedicated quiet time. Like it wasn't you weren't allowed to do activities, or like you could be outside but like reading or like playing cards or something like that.
Something just chilled, relaxed.
Exactly. But because I had like young teenagers, all they wanted to do was sleep, which was excellent. That's
the complete opposite of my experience with young teenagers.
It was great. I loved it.
I wish that was the case. So we had similar. It was like cabin time, so it was about an hour after lunch where it's maybe if the kids wanted to sleep or I don't know, get changed, get ready, or like you said, read or cards and that. But I had very hyperactive 12 to 13-year-old boys. And because I was a sports instructor and sort of been gone all morning, they were like, "Oh, Rob, let's go and play basketball or football." I would just be playing sport with them the whole time. There were some kids in camps where they did chill out. That time was useful as well for the camp. The campers used to write letters to home. So the campers are kind of not normally allowed to contact home, like a phone call or anything like that, unless it's an emergency. Letters is a great way of doing it. So they can sort of check in. We do send the letters. They can write out how they're feeling to the parents. And then we sort of post it off and give them replies during that period. So that was a great time for them sort of to reflect as well. We didn't have any training posts, anything like that. The kids weren't allowed sweets at camp. It was all quite a healthy diet. But yeah, it was meant to be a period of calm before the storm of the afternoon. But normally, I'd just be playing basketball with them the whole time. Which again, not me. I could have maybe just chilled out and be like, "Do you just want to read or play a card game?" like you said. But it sort of just got them more active for the afternoon. So it was the afternoon after the quiet time. Was that just back straight to
back to activities, much the same way. And then after the afternoon activities is when the day camp kids would go home.
Of course,
obviously they do forever. So they would, our kids would have free swim. So like the residential kids had like an hour where they could just kind of go to whatever activity was planned by a counsellor.
Of course.
So they could go into the pool, or they could go down to the lake, or they could play tennis, basketball, whatever they wanted to do, as long as they were with an adult. Like they weren't allowed to go back to their cabins at this point. And then the day camp kids would all leave, and then that kind of brings us to our evening routine at this point. So we had a couple of like strange things that we did in the evening, but I like quite liked it. So after free swim, so that'd be like 4 till 5, for example, and then at 5:15 every day we did this thing called reflections. Which so we had 2 campfires, not to boast. There's
a lot of campfires in the army, but having 2.
Yes, we had 2 like separate like campfire areas. So the bugle would go off again, and all of the boys would go to one campfire, and all the girls would go to another campfire. That was including of all the counsellors as well. Like everybody on camp was kind of doing this, and each day 2 counsellors were nominated to lead reflections. So it wasn't just like, oh, let's talk about our feelings or whatever. It was like given opportunity to recognise other people, or to recognise where like campers thought they'd done really well, and that sort of thing. I really loved it. I thought it was really wholesome.
That's really wholesome.
It's where some of like my best memories of camp have come from. Like having like a camper like shout out to be like, "Oh, I really loved what Laura did today when we did this thing," and I'm like, "That's like
it's those moments, because camp as well. It's very busy. It's very active. And you work hard, so even that being recognised by campers or counsellors is a great motivator.
Exactly.
To sort of keep you going and know that the reason you're here is making a difference, and it is
or seeing like really shy, quiet kids just suddenly speak up about something that they achieved that week, and I'm like, oh my god, stop. It's just I really loved it. I thought it was a great sort of way to kind of bring us down after the hype up of the activities and whatever, just like sort of before dinner. And then this is my favourite thing as well.
Go on.
So at the end of reflections, when we're ready to go for dinner, the girls' campfire, which was like the sort of main campfire, and then the boys' campfire was here, and we would stand up on the like seating at each side and just howl at each other.
There's got to be a backstory as to why a howl is relevant to your account.
I'm not sure why.
And when you say like a wolf, like full on.
Yeah, like we full on like wolf howled, like just
this is what I mean. This probably sounds crazy if you haven't been to camp. It'd be the most normalised thing within a week of we have a howl. You probably want to do it in the UK when you get back to your family home, like just howl at your mum before dinner. That's fantastic. I love that.
It was just, I don't know, it just was quite cathartic. Just like letting out this like big release of energy, and then it was always a thing of like because obviously we were different sides of the camp, so we wouldn't necessarily know like if they'd if the boys were ready to go. But some of the nicest moments were when these just sort of happened in unison. Like,
Just the noise erupts.
I don't know. I really loved it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Did you do any weird things?
Not that. So anyway, so the afternoon again very similar to the morning, just sort of free activities again. I'll normally get one free period during that time where I can sort of go enjoy my campus and activity. Normally swim because I absolutely love the lake, and my sports field was right across from me, and I'd stare across it when I wish I was there. And then dinner, again we used to line up before and do chants, very similar to breakfast. The main difference we had at dinner was we had a farm at my camp.
Okay.
So we had their own farmer counsellors, so like the kids would go and visit as an activity, but a farmer would join us for each dinner, and they'd do something called compost time, which was to encourage the kids about like recycling and what you can compost and stuff. So there was this guy, Farmer Nathaniel, he was like the biggest legend on camp. So he would stand up and everyone would be like anticipating. He would shout, "What time is it?" And all the kids would shout, "Compost time! What time is it? Compost time!" And it would go back and forth like that. And then he would like go through what we've been served or about to eat and be like, "What can be compost?" And then like a kid would shout the answer and he'd be like, "Yeah." And then we used to do like, again, this sounds weird. We'll have compost time. And then the kids really got into it. So the kids wanted to join shouting compost time with Farmer Nathaniel, and they became like, right, you can go and do that. And then we had that, and then we had dinner, and then we used to play YMCA a lot. It's like our camp song. We went to YMCA camp, we just loved that song. So that was sort of, we used to have music playing in the dining hall all the time anyway, just like quietly. But at the end, we used to play YMCA and all the kids would jump up. They absolutely loved it. Knew all the dance moves, all the councillors loved it. It was a great bonding thing. We'll do YMCA, and then after that is sort of what led into the evening activities. So we had like a full-on... Did you have like an evening activity?
Yes.
We had like a specialist one, yeah. So ours would either be something like free swim or, again, weird camp games. We had something called Granny's Candy, which is where, again, it sounds crazy, but it's so normalised, where we would put water balloons in like the bathroom, and the councillors would be like the defendants, and the kids had to come and steal the water balloons and take it back to their base.
I see.
It was the most popular one, and then at the end, if the kids, whatever water balloons the kids got back, they could throw at the councillors. It's like a joke and like that. That was great fun. So normally it's like an evening activity that was like they only do once during their time at camp, and it was like something a bit different, a bit unique. And we had like people come in and do stuff like that as well. So did you have like specialist evening activities? Or?
So we had like a bit of a structure for our evening activities during the week. So on Monday it'd be cabin night. So that would be something that like the cabin decided. So they might decide that, okay, we want to do like tie-dyeing, or we want to bake a cake, or whatever it was. Like we would submit what we wanted to do on the weekend, and then they would do that on Monday night. On the Tuesday we had normally like an entertainment activity. So we quite often had like external people come in.
Okay, cool.
And we had like a guy that who was called the Bubble Man.
You can't laugh at Granny's Candy and then the Bubble Man straight afterwards.
He had like a big, it just like did bubble tricks and like whatever.
That's cool.
It was like the young kids really loved
it. I can remember.
And then we had like a magician, and we had I can't remember other ones, but like just like that sort of entertainment, like somebody
like
would
a
come
show
in.
somewhat.
Exactly. We did like a karaoke night and like a lip sync battle and all that sort of stuff.
We did all that,
and then on Wednesday night, so this is another like really quite culty thing from my camp.
A tradition,
tradition, that's maybe a better word. Tradition from my camp is we had something called Cherokee Mahiwi. Now, Cherokee and Mahiwis are two Native American tribes. Obviously, the etymology of that has come from like very, very far back in the traditions of camp, but it's something that was still sort of present in when I was at camp as well. So it was basically like colour wars. So like the Cherokees were blue and the Mahiwis were red. Each child, when they came to camp in their first week, would be given a tribe. I love the traditions of this as well though, because like if we had a kid that was their cousin had been to camp, or their uncles had been to camp, or like whoever, it was like always like they would always be in the same tribe. Like
so you could be on the family. I do like that.
Cute. The kids were so obsessed with this as well, like to the point that on Wednesdays most of the kids would only wear the colours of their tribe.
I love it when the kids get into the camp traditions. It's so
like
fun.
Wednesdays was very much like red and blue day. We also had blue juice and red juice. Like that was the sort of theme of the day. So basically they had like big challenges every Wednesday.
Yeah.
So it'd be things like Gold Rush was one of them that we did, or like Capture the Flag.
Yeah.
Like all that sort of stuff. And it went through the entire summer. So even kids that were only there for like the first couple of weeks, they would still be like putting points in the bank for like the sort of reveal at the end of the summer. So it was basically just different challenges and stuff. The kids absolutely like
no, I can imagine.
Loved it. They had like what's the word? They had like leaders, I guess, of each
tribes,
of their tribes and whatever, and it was just, I don't know, they just loved it. Like,
did the councillors get into it?
Oh yeah,
like the same levels as councillors, yeah.
But the councillors weren't allowed to choose sides.
So you weren't assigned like a tribe?
No.
Okay, I thought
councillors were totally neutral, except
yeah, those. Yeah.
But it was just a really fun way of like getting kids that like didn't think that they liked sports or didn't think that they liked that sort of thing, like involved in something like that, which was lovely. Loads of team spirit, loads of young kids like working really well with the older kids, like lots of that sort of like moving about like age ranges and stuff.
Oh, fantastic.
Really, really loved it. So that happened every single Wednesday. And then on Thursday we had campfire, which was my favourite time of the week. Absolutely loved it. We would have kids like sign up with like different like little skits or songs that they were gonna do.
Obviously, the talent show at camps. Yeah. I never laughed more at some of the performances. I remember like the first time I me and my camp leader Shreya, there was a kid that was doing stand up, and I can't remember the punchline. Every joke had the same punchline, and it's one of those things where it's not funny, it's funny. And me and her were like crying, laughing in the corner. And I was just like, I mean, that was like 2 weeks into my camp, and I was like, if this is the way it's going to be, I'm in for a fantastic summer of this. Yeah.
We had one kid that his thing was just doing motivational speeches. He was good at them.
Really?
And then at one point he like we had the fire sort of set up. Yeah. And at one point he like pointed to the fire, and as soon as he did that, the fire fell. So we were all like, oh my god!
So the sorcerer as well as a motivational speaker.
Yeah. But yeah, we did campfire, so we would do like a sort of skit, songs, that sort of stuff, and then we always sang Wagon Wheel, which is a bit of
probably a different
country song.
Yeah.
We always sang that, and yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed that. I'm not going to sing it right now.
Oh.
Sorry.
I was waiting for that. Maybe next episode.
We also sang this song, copyright to Luke, lol. But he, our old program director Luke, he wrote this song called Camp Half Moon, which went to the
Camp Half Moon,
which went to the tune of Hallelujah.
Camp Half Moon, I can see how that works.
Yeah, exactly. You've got it already. So it was like, it was written about our camp, and it was quite cute. But we used to sing that every campfire as well. And then we would end with another kind of camp specific tradition. We had this thing at camp called the Webelos, which
not a clue what.
So me neither until I was there. We had so my camp used to be just a boys' camp, and it was kind of like a Boy Scout camp, and this tradition comes from that. But it's something that has carried on. So Webelo stands for we I can't remember. It's like something loyal scouts. We'll be loyal scouts. That's what like Webelo. Anyway. All the kids would like have the chance to become a Webelo, and that was like a big deal. Like we only had maybe 7 or 8 Webelos out of all of camp. And kids like year on year would be like,
it was a thing to aim for.
Exactly. So to become a Webelo, one must get.
It's very Harry Potter-esque,
isn't it? To become a Webelo, one must get 5 bear claws. Not actual bear claws.
This sounds like a CBBC like Raven competition.
It is a bit like Raven. But they would have like, there was like 5 different categories. I can't remember them all, but they had to like do a certain thing in that category to earn a bear claw. And then when they had 5 bear claws, it's when they became a Webelow. And then they would like lead campfire, and they would just. One of their traditions was that they always wore sliders for some reason. I don't really know why. That wasn't like part of our tradition. That was like the kids.
Just fair enough.
But they would lead campfire. They would be the sort of like prefects of camp. They just.
Like a leadership position, but amongst the campers themselves.
Exactly, like sort of role models, something for the kids to look up to.
Aspire to,
and it was a big honour, was the Webelows, and everybody was very well respected as a Webelow, and they got their own T-shirts as well.
Right, wow. I want to be a Webelow now.
Yeah.
I know, it sounds fantastic.
Like genuinely, I was a bit like, how do we become? But yeah, that was, so we did, any kid that had been like nominated for a bear claw, like we did this sort of ceremony at the end, and then they would like get to know who'd won what or whatever.
Of course,
and if they become a Webelow, this is a weird part. If they become a Webelow, so if they get all 5 bear claws, they would have a blanket or a sheet wrapped around them, and then they had to run around the campfire a few times and then run off into the woods.
Did they come back?
They came back.
They didn't go just like a secret like as a Webelow.
No. They came back, but they had to run off into the woods, and then we would all like disperse from campfire. But yeah. Anyway,
we had some traditions like that. The main two were the golden oar and the golden ball.
Okay.
So this was like a behaviour thing. So like whoever the best like village that we had at Waterfront won the golden oar, and there's like a chant associated with like, we've got the golden oar. And this was like a contest of every 2 weeks we had between the kids, and that was like heavily looked after. And then when I became the sports coach, me and my team introduced the golden ball for the same thing, behaviour at the sports field. And honestly, the excitement of like what we did, we went to Walmart, got the cheapest basketball, wrapped it in gold tape, and then me and like my co-sports coach Joe bought it in, and everyone was like, ooh, who's going to win it? And then we were like, the golden ball goes to Avalanche, and like the explosion, and then the kids would like carry it around with them throughout the thing. Again, it sounds weird, but it's one of those things that motivates the kids, like the Webelow thing, to like be on their best behaviour and a teamwork of like. The kids used to get competitive, so they didn't like line up in time on the sports field. They'd be like, "You're going to cost us points for the golden ball," that sort of thing. And that was like sort of the traditions we had. So like we did a lot of campfires, like I said. So at the end of the day, we sort of speak about how everyone felt the day went. We quite often gave the campers a stick, or they found their own sticks, and they threw it into the fire about like what they thought they achieved that day, or what they're looking forward to the next day, or something like that. Again, just a moment of reflection before bed, and sort of summing up the day and getting themselves reset for the next day. And that sort of just leads into nighttime, I think, after evening activities, which was just about getting the kids to bed pretty much. My kids still had a lot of energy at that point, so it was about just calming things down, chilling it out. We aim for like a 9:30 bedtime for my kids, lights out at 9:30. Normally we would like sit in the cabin to make sure that we're sort of going to sleep. But we let a bit of chat in the kids in like a cabin. You can't just be like, right, time to 9:30. And then to be honest, the night time was mainly the counsellor bonding time, because after you spend all day with kids, as fantastic the campers are, you do just want to speak to adults and just sort of reflect yourself. 100%. So we used to have like a bit of a meeting. We had to do like daily reports on the kids. I'm not sure if this was coming for your camp. So we had to write down what each camper did, morning, evening, night, and just if there's anything that we need to pick up on. Many, of course, the parents used to call in, and obviously we need to let them know like what the kid did that day. So like I can't remember exactly what one kid might have done last Thursday or something like that. So it's good just to have that. But that was the bonding time. The counsellors that we used to all get these forms, sit down around like the big table we had in the centre. It still need the kids obviously in case disaster. You don't go too far. And then we used to just talk for hours. Like I'm not joking, we used to be up to like, I don't recommend this because you will be very tired, to like 2 a.m. Just speaking about like the days and planning even like what we're going to do on our day off, or like travel afterwards. It was that sort of excitement for it all. And then that was just fantastic really for bonding. We used to have a few like staff activities on the night time as well, where we just put on a film, or like we're going to put on some food and dining hall just for the counsellors. And again, as much as camp is about the campers, it's so good to meet everyone and just like have those bonding moments with the counsellors and like make friends for life, and everything you hear about it is completely true. And it's those sort of moments on the night time, I think, where you really do establish those connections.
100%.
Yeah, so I don't know, did you have like any night time stuff with the counsellors? Or
after our kids went to bed, we had cabin coverage, so that meant that we did it like maybe ourselves once a week or once every couple of weeks. So a counsellor would be looking after like 2 cabins, like from the outside, kind of just
I shot, you shot, sort of thing,
and then that meant that like we got the time till curfew. Our curfew was at 12, so we needed to be back in our
same actually, we had that.
But we got the time from the bedtime of our campers till 12, so I think my camper's bedtime was like 10 or something like that. We had those couple of hours in the evening, we went to the staff room, we went to the dining hall, we just like went and checked our phones, spoke to our parents if we could, like just had that
I had quite a few 3 AM conversations with my mum because of the time difference, but she was fine with it,
just like had that time sort of to ourselves just to kind of like chill out for the day, but also was when we were like doing fun things as counsellors, like having such a laugh about the day as well, like talking about, oh, did you see what so and so did like in swim, or like
that's what I mean.
You know what I mean? Like,
having
having that little bit of downtime with your friends, like having a bit of time off, I guess.
Definitely. I mean, again, those are like one of my favourite memories from camp. So when I went to camp the first summer, I missed my graduation. So I told this to my other counsellors, and they were like, "Oh, that's a shame." So I wasn't expecting anything. Then after one night time, they set up a party for me in like the little like bathroom we had, of like a graduation ceremony. And they got me balloons, they got me gifts, they got me like a little scroll and stuff. And we had like a mini party like there. And that's one of those moments where before camp I've never expected these people I met 4 weeks ago would on the day off go to Walmart, buy me balloons, do all this and throw it. But it's those bonding moments, and I have like a photo of all of us like set up on the time of tree, all of us with my little fin in the middle showing off my like little graduation fin. It's the cutest photo I've ever taken in my life, and we got photos of everyone afterwards. There's those moments that people probably don't consider. They probably think, again, camp obviously is about the campers, but it's just as much about the connection you make with everyone else,
just the connections,
the connections with everybody.
It's just, it is incredible. Like there's things that I've told people at camp that I've known that had at the time known for days that I wouldn't have told like my best friend.
No, that's
like,
been
you just like
not to get too deep, but the thing with camp is because you're with these people for like 10 weeks, you just have to be yourself, and that's a beautiful part of it. Is that like if you're going to get the most out of this environment, just completely throw yourself into it. And like I said, you'll get so much out of it. I just want to be back in camp now.
I think that's the thing. Like, I don't think I've met anybody that's been the same person as they were before. Like after they came back from camp. Like before I went to camp, like I'm still like not the most extroverted person, but like before I went to camp, I was quite shy. I wasn't very confident.
Like, for me,
went to camp, had the absolute time of my life. Went back the next summer, and then obviously COVID happened, but like then was like, actually no, I can't go to camp, so I'll make this my job.
Same here.
So it's incredible. So just to sort of wrap us up then, what is your favourite camp tradition?
I think just because it makes no sense in the outside world, the compost time with Nathaniel. Because seeing a man in full farmer gear running around shouting with compost time, and the kids go crazy about what they can make into soil, it's just something I never would have expected. And it's just, that'll be with me for the rest of my life. When I have kids, I'm going to be shouting that in the kitchen about like what time is it, compost time.
I think we should start it in the office.
Probably should, actually we need to improve our recycling actually, so that might work if I introduce a chance for it. So that's just a chance in general, like so many are going to be stuck in the head for the rest of my life, or just like, just all of them. And again, it's just the weird sense of community that everyone bonded around that, which I was not expecting, and that's what makes it so magical, I think. So how about yourself?
I think my favourite camp tradition, and it's just as like a tiny little one, like we had so much, like even just speaking to you now, I'm like remembering so much.
It keeps popping up.
That like, oh yeah, I forgot we did.
We can talk another hour probably.
But my favourite thing was at the end of, so we had campfire on Thursday, but on Sunday we had like a mini campfire. Like the kids arrived on the Sunday, so it was just like a introduction to camp and whatever. But we would always end that with the phrase brush your teeth and sleep with dreams. I just think
that's really cute actually.
I think it's the cutest little thing. Like everybody used to say that, like brush your teeth and sleep with dreams. And I don't know why, I just really love that.
That needs to be a t-shirt. I would buy that and just remind myself of each day for it.
But it is crazy how much, like when you're talking about camp, actually so much more comes to your mind of
exactly. You do camp is a busy day, as you probably realise from listening to this. It's just how much you do in it. But the days go so quickly, and the summer goes even quicker. So like, even though it sounds like, oh, I've got so much to do, like you'll be wishing you're doing it every single day for the rest of your life once you're done.
Absolutely. Like the day that you finish camp, you'll be like, right, sign me up for next year.
Yeah, exactly. It's and then you want to keep going for the rest of your life, which is what we're hopefully going to do ourselves. So
absolutely.
There we are. But yeah, fantastic. I think now it's just a case of letting us know what you saw on the next podcast. Probably if you want a part 2 about a day in the life where we talk even more about web laws and weird traditions, we can happily do that as well. And compost time, we can get Farm and the Fan you on for an interview. Let us know. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the AmeriCamp podcast. I've had a lovely time, Laura, with you.
Thank you. Yes,
it's been fantastic.
Thank you for joining us, and do all the subscribe, share, comment.
Let us know what you're most looking forward to at camp. What traditions, what do you expect? If you've been to camp, let us know your traditions. Probably love to read some out in the future pod. But yeah, if not, it's been a lovely time with the AmeriCamp podcast, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Bye.